BBC Radio Northampton.
Now, campaigners against the high-speed 2 rail link say they're taking heart from news about the West Coast Main Line that we've been talking about today. Stop HS2 says that now it's been revealed that the Department for Transport made mistakes in calculations before awarding the West Coast franchise. It raises doubts about the same department's figures and reports about HS2. But earlier, Brian Binley, the MP for Northampton South and chair of the Northampton Rail Users Group, told me the current issues with the West Coast franchise shouldn't overshadow decisions around HS2. He supports the project and says although nobody wants it near their home, it will ultimately benefit the county, Northampton in particular, by providing more capacity.
The truth of the matter is they don't want it going through their green and pleasant land, and I understand that. But, you know, at the end of the day, the nation actually needs it, and Northampton certainly does, because it isn't about speed, it's about capacity, the number of slots on a given railway line at a given time, and that's why Northampton so badly needs it.
Well, Joe Rukin is from Stop HS2, the aforementioned campaign group. Joe, you can't really draw a parallel between the reports and figures to calculate the awarding of the West Coast franchise and HS2, can you?
Of course you can. It's the same department using the same methodology and making the same mistakes. And I can't believe that an MP has been on your programme being so irresponsible. This is the thing, that the West Coast Main Line decision today has cost the taxpayer £40 million. HS2, which is built on the same sand that was built on, would cost the taxpayer £33 billion. And they've only actually bothered to check their own figures because Virgin were bringing in this legal case. Now, their legal case was going to be heard before ours because it had to be done before the franchise, the new franchise started on December the 9th. And ours, they haven't done the work on yet, and they're going to find that exactly the same mistakes have been made by exactly the same people, and exactly the same flaws in the case have always been there. We've been saying this for 2.5 years.
Yeah, you've long said the business case for HS2 doesn't stack up, but this isn't really the proof that you've been searching for. I mean, one of the key failings in the West Coast franchise is that they failed to take into account inflation, something that is factored into the HS2 proposal.
Yeah, but you've got to look at the passenger numbers, right? And what you've done there, with what HS2 Limited and the Department of Transport have done, is they have picked the passenger numbers which make the business model work. And the Public Accounts Committee, the National Audit Office and the Transport Select Committee all say that the Department for Transport cannot get their forecasting right. And if they are out just a little bit because you're multiplying one massive number by another massive number and end up with a colossal number at the end, if they are out and the passengers don't turn up, which they won't, because you're looking, at the moment you've got 45,000 people a day going into Euston. They reckon with HS2 it will be 146, which is just a figure that's been plucked out the air. And if that happens, one, it's going to end up costing the taxpayer a load more money, and two, it's going to mean that money that could be spent on other things isn't going to be, because it's going to go on HS2. And we're confident that they're going to find the same mistakes because we've been banging this drum since day one, 2.5 years ago.
And you've a legal challenge coming up. Do you want this same review, this same stock take to happen then ahead of this legal challenge to possibly prevent it, because you're confident that it'll find flaws and errors?
Well, they're going to have to do it, and that's the thing, that they had to do the Virgin one first because that legal case was coming up first. And now the same people who've been investigating the West Coast Main Line figures are going to be investigating the HS2 figures, and they're going to say, oh my God, we've made the same mistakes. Because we even know the Department for Transport aren't using their most updated methodology. They're using the methodology that fits. They're using, they're completely fiddling the figures, and they've done this since day one. The problem has always been that there has been no strategy, there has been no way of actually looking at this and saying, is it the best thing for the country? It's just been Lord Adonis came in 2009 and said, design me a railway line, the fastest, most expensive one in the world from London to Birmingham, and justify it.
And what if the findings...
The justification came after the decision.
What if the findings aren't as you report, though? If this review takes place and they find that actually the business case, which is what your opposition is hinging on, stacks up, will you then drop your campaign against HS2?
Absolutely not. I have no doubt whatsoever that is not going to happen. And the thing is, it's not just about the business case. There are 5 legal challenges. We're challenging the consultation. We're challenging the environmental appraisal. Like, in my own personal opinion, there is absolutely no doubt that the government have broken the law on the environmental appraisal, on the strategic environmental assessment regulations, because they haven't done, there's so many different things that they haven't done. With the consultation, we found not just one set of consultation responses missed, but two. I've been at Labour Party conference this week, and Maria Eagle, the Shadow Secretary of State for Transport, is convinced that we will win the legal challenge on the consultation because they've just, they were set out a hoop to jump through, and they haven't even managed to do that. They have, they've fallen flat on their face. It was a tick box exercise, and they couldn't even tick a box.
All right.
The Department for Transport are completely incompetent, and that is what today has shown.
Okay, Joe Rukin from Stop HS2. I appreciate your time.